Hello and welcome to my channel, my lovely friends. Today I thought we would have a look at making these little pretties. Slightly geometric maybe, slightly maybe Grecian looking, who knows? Does it matter? I don't think it does. Let's go ahead and have a look at how to make these gorgeous earrings. Right, my friends, let's get started. So you have your 15 centimeters of 1mm wire, and we're going to be making this shape initially, which I think kind of looks a little sort of Grecian, or I don't know, anyway. It's nice, isn't it? So I'm just going to bring in my 6-step bail marking pliers, and these are, I'm going to be using the first mandrel, which is a 2mm, and then I'm just going to pop an almost P shape on either end. You see that? Just almost a P, going in the same direction, just to start our spirals off, like that. Now what I've found through practice is that if you take about 3mm, 2 to 3mm off the end of each one of these, it does assist you in getting quite a nice round, a round centre to your spiral. So I'm just going to pop my mandrel in here, and this is sort of all in the wrist work really, isn't it? So I do this as best I can, bend the wire around in a circular fashion. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's hope it does. So be nice and gentle with your wire, and sort of, you know, with a rolling motion of the wrist, get your spiral going, which that's not too bad. Right, so now what we want to do is we want to come in with a flat based plier and make a nice spiral on either side. Keep going around until the end of your wire is about here. You see that? Do the same on the other side. So wind it round, wind it round. There we go, until your wire is about there. You see that? The end of your wire. There is a little bit of room for manoeuvre. So I'm going to be bending it around the F mark on my mandrel here. So if you have a continental or indeed an American style, then just, you know, work out measurement wise. Oops. So I'm going to bend that around the F on my mandrel, and hopefully, if I've done the measurements correctly, you should end up with a shape like this. So I'm just going to bring that spiral in just ever so slightly on either side, because what we're looking for is for these to meet. Can you see that on the mandrel? Can you see that? I'm trying to get it so that the camera can angle. So we'll get it to meet and then just squash that down. So you've got this kind of shape, which you can fettle and faff about with now. All right, so you want 2 of those. Okay, so when you've got 2 of those, I'll come back to you. Righty-ho, my friends. So the next thing we want to do is to make these little components here to go on the frame. Yeah, each one of these takes 4 centimeters of 1mm wire, and what I'm going to do is just going to make these shapes here. Okay, so what we want to do is to take the round nose plier, and then again, like before, make 2 almost P shapes on either side. You just have to excuse my fingers because I've been doing quite a bit of crafts over the past couple of weeks and my fingers are starting to tell me off. Snip again a little bit on either side. Helps us to get a nice circular centre to our little shape here. I'll just do the one and then we'll come back. So put your pliers in like so, and just bend them inwards as best you can. What we're aiming for is a nice circular section you know, little hole thing here. If you get an angle on it like this, you know what, either don't panic and, you know, just carry on, or make a new one. You know, I've gone awry here, doesn't matter to me. These are organic and they're supposed to be handmade looking. And then what we want to do is to put a little bend in the middle, yeah, like so. And if you want to measure them and, you know, put a little Sharpie mark on, it's entirely up to you. And I will just bring that in slightly. So what we're wanting is to find 3 of these shapes to put around our little guy here. So I've made these ones earlier so that we're not wasting time. Oops. And then just pop them on your piece. And what we're looking for is about that, so that you have space in between each one, which I have like that. All right, so I'll come back to you in a second and we'll start the wrapping. So let's get onto the wrapping, shall we? So I think you're going to need, out of your 0.4mm wire, you're going to need probably about 25 to 30 inches, I think. So we'll find out at the end, won't we? So pop your wire inside, and you're going to need 6 wraps to start things off. Well, I did anyway. You know, these are just ideas, aren't they, for you? So you can do what you like, really. You don't have to listen to me. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 wraps. Now, I use my fingernails, as you can probably tell. All right, and the next thing we want to do is to take our first shape. And then we want to wrap this shape onto the frame. So making sure that you don't get your wire all kinked up, because that's really annoying with a longer piece of wire, isn't it? You want to pull this through carefully. And we want to wrap that tightly twice through the little hole here. You know, the little hole that we made? So through like this and like so, and pull nice and tightly. Squish everything along, not too far, Sammy. That's it. So we want that about there. And then all you want to do then is just to wrap around the frame a few times. Oops. Just to make sure that everything's nice and tight and neat, like this. Okay. Until we get to the next little loop here, because we're going to be wrapping that on as well. Just make sure everything's nice and squished up, nice and happy. Pull that through. Until we get to this sort of stage here. So if we make sure everything's pushed up, I'll just get one more wrap in there, I think I will. There we go. So you just want to get to the stage where you're ready to put 2 more wraps in your, excuse me, your second loop, which I will do now. So pull that through. Again, being careful not to kink your wire, because there's nothing worse. Which has happened there, that's all right. Sammy, don't worry about it. And then back through for wrap number 2. Like this. Now this guy is going to want to wobble around on you. You're in command, you are in charge. Do not let it. So this is what we have. So lay it down on the table like this. Yeah, what we want to do is to bring our next little one in and just set things down and see. What we want to have is a little gap in between, like that. Can you see with this one? A little gap in between. So I know that I can put 7 wraps in between these 2 loops, which I will do now. So make sure everything's nice and tight. So 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, and squish things up a little bit like this. Yeah, then you do exactly the same thing with your next unit, your next little component, but this point wants to be in line with this here. You can straighten things out later on if you want to. So just pop through the hole there. And this will probably want to move around on you, but like I say, you are completely in charge and you can tell it off. Tell it to stay put. All right, so through again, oops, making sure that nothing is kinked up. So you have your 2 wraps here, squish things up if you need to, and then again we just go around. All right, so do that until you get to the end and then we'll go from there. See you in a few. Righty ho, my friends, we are at the end and you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Isn't it cute? Wobbly wobbly, but never mind. Again, so you want to just pop 6 wraps at the top end here to make everything equal. So this is what it should look like. Can you see that on the table? Lovely. So if you've wrapped nice and tightly, these little units here shouldn't move about at all. And if they do, then it's only minimal. So when I said 25 to 30 inches of wire, this is what we've got left, which we can use for the next part. So chop these little bits off and then just come in with your pliers and just give things a bit of a squish. And then what I've done, I've just gone round and given everything a bit of a squish, not too much, just to settle everything into place, make everything nice and neat. So this is what we have here. So can you see? That's the basis. So the next thing we want to do is to wrap a bead on either side here. Now I've used these beautiful 2mm garnets, which I use for all sorts of my jewellery, because I think they're very elegant. Garnets are very pretty, and it's the birthstone of one of my kids as well. So there we are. So just going to come in with a couple of these, excuse me, a couple of these little shiny beads. And we want, well, I mean, you can do with these what you want. If you want to use 3 beads, you can, and just not have the dangle at the bottom. Always, as always, it's entirely up to you. So again, I'm going to start by popping my wire through here and then just wrap it around a couple of times so that you've got an anchor, and use any spare wire that you've got. I've always got 0.4 spare going somewhere. I have a little bag that I keep little scraps in, and this particular part here is perfect for your little scraps. Shove that up to the end. Keep that end out of the way. So we just want to be wrapping around like this, nice and neatly and tightly, as always, until we get to the center. So I'm just going to do one more. So the point of this little guy here, the point here is where we want to pop our bead on. So just take your bead, tiny little thing. Gosh, where is the hole? I'm going to have to find the hole. There you go, looking over the top of my glasses. All right. So this is where we wrap our little bead on. And come back under. And I'm wrapping my bead just on the top. You can have it out to the side if you want to, you know, sort of on the side, but here I've just done mine just over the top. Okay, and you just keep going round until you fill that space with your wrapping. I just think it looks very, very elegant. So let me know in the comments what you think about longer videos. I'm doing some research recently about the psychology of what people watch these days, and there's a lot of the YouTube gurus that are telling us to make our videos more short and more punchy, because people, like my beautiful viewers, get bored and they click off, which isn't good for audience retention apparently. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think longer form videos are still here to stay, or do you prefer something short and don't like to listen to your lovely YouTubers' voices? Okay, so there we go. Let me know what you think. So I'm just going to snip that off there, and I'm just going to twist and push, burnish that on, and then again, same here. Okay, and then just give that a bit of a squish. So that's my first bead on. All right, so I'll come back to you when I've done number 2. Right, my friends, this is what you should have left. Okay, so you've got your little bead on either point of these little side pieces. Now what we want to do is do the same here. Like I say, if you want to put another bead on there and leave it at that, that's fine. I'm just going to put a little loop here so that I can dangle one of these pretty little sort of water drop bead type things here on the bottom. So again, we do the wrapping with what's left of your lengthy piece of 0.4. Like I've said before, don't listen to me. What's my dog doing? What are you doing? It's a bit warm in here for you, Glory. Don't listen to me. Do what you like. Just do whatever you want. You can do all sorts of things, can't you, with these? You know? Just let's pop these around. Hopefully I'm making sense. Hopefully I'm in camera, in frame, and hopefully you haven't clicked off yet. I don't know, these YouTube gurus. Anybody else listen to them? On my beautiful Facebook page, I did a bit of a poll, and everybody said, just keep doing what you're doing, Sammy. So here I am, just keeping doing what I'm doing, so thank you. If you're interested in joining our lovely private Facebook group, I will leave the information down in the description box for you. Lovely, lovely group of people. We don't just share jewellery, we share all sorts of things. Knitting, crochet, other jewellery that you've made from other wonderful artists. Tutorials as well, I'm not precious about it. Share what you've been making. Right, so the next thing we want to do is to come in with our very, very, very tip of our round nose pliers. Just pop them in here like this. Hold, grasp as tightly as you can and pop your wire through. Maybe just bring that up just a slight touch, right on the corner, and wind it around here, which is slightly difficult. There we go. So we want a little loop just on the bottom there, and then still grasping just to make sure everything's happy. Just for a couple more wraps through. Just keep grasping, and then when you're happy that everyone's happy, you can let go, and then just finish off your wrapping, which I'll do off camera. There we are. So we just have a little loop at the bottom. All right, so I'll see you in a few. So here we have our little loop, which is slightly bigger than the other one. I'm sure the eagle-eyed of you will notice that, but it doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me in the slightest, as long as it's not like huge. Doesn't matter if it's a fraction of a millimetre off, but I'm sure there's eagle-eyed amongst you that would say, Sammy, that one's bigger than the other one. Ask me if I'm bothered, and the answer would be no, I'm not bothered at all. So we have just a little bit left, which as long as you haven't worked it too much, will still be sort of bendy and wiggly enough in order to make our little droplet. If not, if you've worked your wire a little bit too much and it's become a little stiff, just get another little piece of wire. It doesn't matter, does it? Life is way too short. Right, so the next thing we need to do is to make the little dangle. So you can put whatever you want on here. I'm going to use one of these little water drop type things because I think they're really pretty. Various ways of doing these. Lots of wire artists will show you how to do it. I am not brilliant at doing this, so I just wing it, hope for the best. And, you know, hey ho, who cares? Again, I don't care. Just do what you want. Do whatever you like. And make your little water drop guy here. Doesn't matter to me. Just going to snip that off. Here. Doesn't matter to me in the slightest. And then make your loop. And then just pop it on your little thing there. And then I'm going to come in with my pliers. And then we just basically wrap around as best we can. Like this. Wrap around. And then wrap around. The good thing about wire is it's very forgiving, isn't it? No big deal. And then if you've got just a tiny bit to chop off and just squish everything else into place. Squish that little end bit down if you want. Doesn't matter to me. Chop it off. Yeah, I probably will chop it off, but I won't do that on camera. Okay, so here we have our little dangle. Thus, like this. Okay, yeah, and the next thing we want to do is just to come in with our jump rings, which are, where are my jump rings? Bear with me for a second. Found my jump rings, and apologies for stopping and starting a lot today actually, because it's very warm in here and my camera's been overheating, so I had to stop and start a lot. Never mind. So you're going to need 2 7mm jump rings made with 1mm wire, and you're going to need 4 5mm jump rings made with 1mm copper wire, or whichever wire, beg your pardon. No, you're going to need 8. 4 per earring. Okay, so 4 5mm, 1 7. So, or you just, yeah, as I've said before, do what you like. Do what you like. But I've used 2 in each of my little little hole here, you know, my little gaps. I've used 2 just because I thought it looked nice. I'm going to put 2 in each and just close them up. Lots of bird activity in my garden today, which is lovely. And that's that one. Close it up. So I hope you enjoy making these. Like almost like a geometric type, sort of mixed with a sort of Grecian urn type of shape. I don't know, I was just messing about. I don't know. I did start making this kind of thing as well, so maybe I'll do another video on these using the same shapes. Who knows? I don't know. You know, you just sort of sit down and start faffing about with things. And then put your 7mm through. Thus. Nearly there. And all you need to do now, my friends, is find yourself a nice ear wire. I make my own. But it depends on the material that you've used. Use sterling, whatever you like. Actually, these would be really pretty in sterling, but sterling is very expensive. And there we are, my friends. We have a gorgeous pair of earrings. Or you could use that as a pendant, I suppose, couldn't you? What do you think of those? Aren't they pretty? Yeah, have fun making those and let me know how you get on in the comments. And also let me know whether you like a longer form video or whether you like it to go really quick. It's up to you. Let me know and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, my friends, and goodbye.